And we've seen just in the last few days reports, even in the New York Times, acknowledging that these Russian soldiers were laying face down, and it appears they were executed point blank. Is something changing here in terms of public sentiment or media, the way the media? What is it that's changed here? Why is it just undeniable now that this is happening? Is that why we're seeing these kinds of things finally being reported in the mainstream media here in the West?
It was always undeniable. I'm just here to straight up tell you, Bucha was a war crime. We know who killed them in Bucha. There is no question. Ukrainians have all but admitted it. When you have a government official come out and announce, stay in your homes, the cleansing operation is underway. When you have the security services say, we are carrying out a cleansing operation, but we're taking care of saboteurs and collaborators, and a videotape where the head Nazi, the boatsman, saying, shoot the people that don't have the right symbols on it. You put all that together, I could convict you in a court of law with that because it's beyond circumstantial. It's a direct acknowledgement that murder is taking place. The West decided to ignore it, create the narrative that Russia committed the crime. Well, they tried to do that again when they captured Izium in September. The Ukrainian government went down there and started saying, oh, the Russians committing war crimes. The problem is their Nazi thugs are so brutal and so stupid that they're filming the executions of the Russian women and men as they dump their bodies in a ditch, and they're not even hiding it. So the Ukrainians had to shut up, and the West wouldn't even touch that story. What they did is they revisited Bucha. Oh, we're going to go back to Bucha. Bucha was a Ukrainian war crime. Ukraine is a living war crime. Everything about the Ukrainian government, everything about the way they function and they fight this war is a war crime. They're murdering prisoners of war, people who surrendered. There is no gray zone here. There is no, oh my goodness, a guy came out with a gun, so now we kill everybody. You kill the guy with the gun, but the people who put their hands up and are on the ground like this, they don't get killed. That is just what the rules of law say. You don't walk around and pop each one of them in the head. And that's what they're doing. But this isn't new. This is what the Ukrainians have done since day one. Don't you remember them? The prisoners of war coming out of the truck, getting shot in the legs, shot in the groin, so they bleed out through their femoral artery, and they're just sitting there mocking them. Then they said, well, what, that's an exception? It's not an exception. The exception is when the Ukrainians treat somebody nice. That's almost an unheard of event. The Ukrainians are brutal thug murderers. And if there's any justice in the world, will all be put up against the wall and shot when this is done. All of those who perpetrated the crimes. They don't deserve leniency. They don't deserve forgiveness. They are war criminals. They're brutal murderers, just like their Nazi SS forebears. And I challenge Chrystia Freeland to talk about this anytime she wants. Come on, Chrystia, let's have a little debate. Let's have a debate about your background, Chrystia. I'm not talking about your grandfather. Talk about your background in the Planck scouting movement, where you worshiped the portrait of Stepan Bandera. You carried it everywhere you went. Did you wear the little brown uniform, Krista? Did you wear the little brown uniform and give the nice little Slava Ukraina, glory to the heroes response back and forth that Bandera turned into his murderous slogan? Now you're pretending you didn't know that this was bad? Krista, you were raised on it. It mainstreamed in your blood. You know what's going on. You know that when you stood up in the Canadian Parliament and said Slava Ukraina, you might as well put a swastika on your arm, put your arm out and say Sieg Heil, because it's the same thing, Krista. It means the same thing. I mean, but the problem is, I'm not picking on Canadians tonight, but it might seem like it, but when you allow this kind of person to be your deputy prime minister, she condemns the nation, because it says the nation tolerates this. The nation condones this. The nation will accept a national amnesia to forget what the Western Ukrainians really are. White supremacist neo-Nazis. White supremacist neo-Nazis, and one of them is your deputy prime minister.